Alright everyone, welcome to the Rugby History channel. Tonight's video is going to be all about the Melbourne salary cap saga, because once again it's reared its ugly head in the media. I was flicking through Facebook this morning and I saw a few posts about Cameron Smith's new book, The Storm Within, and how he claims that Melbourne once again did out wrong during the salary cap saga, and the NRL's being harsh on the players, being harsh on Melbourne, and going on about all that keeper. And then I read some of the comments, and some of the comments were talking a lot of shite, seeing a lot of mistruths, seeing some things that weren't true or didn't happen. And I'm going to be making a video. It's going to be basically a facts video tonight. I'm going to be talking facts, straight up facts, and I'm going to be comparing Melbourne's salary cap scandal to some of the other clubs since the NRL era that have been found guilty of salary cap breaches. Before I get into the video, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure that you are subscribed. I'm getting close to 350 subscribers. I'm up to 336 at the moment, so thanks to everyone that subscribed to my channel, and I'm trying to get to 350 by the end of the month. Now, getting back into this video, the thing with Melbourne is that whenever you question the salary cap scandal, or you even suggest that what they did was wrong, you get called a storm heater, or you get called a New South Wales sad case. And then Melbourne fans will see Melbourne got the punishment that they did because they're not a New South Wales side, that the NRL favours New South Wales clubs, the other clubs got off lightly, and what other clubs did was exactly the same as what Melbourne did. Well, I'm going to tell you tonight that it's not, and I'm going to tell you why the punishments were justified. So let's get into the Melbourne salary cap here. Now, on the 22nd of April 2010, Melbourne confessed that they'd been breaching the salary cap, willfully breaching the salary cap. There was an investigation before all that, but the CEO and some of the people at the top of the club, they come out and they just admitted, look, we've been doing the wrong thing. It was found out by the NRL that they were $3.78 million over the salary cap between 2006 to 2010. They operated two separate books where they gave one set of books to the NRL and they kept the real books to themselves. They had a dual contract keeping system where players would sign a real contract and then they would sign a fake contract. So they were lodging contracts with the NRL. In the case of Billy Slater and Greg Inglis, they signed contracts worth $400,000, when in real fact they were signing contracts with $950,000. Now, Billy Slater and Greg Inglis are the ones that it was found that they signed two separate contracts, but also Cooper Cronk and Cameron Smith were also alleged to have done this. This was also tied in with the boats and all these extra gifts and wedding rings and all this type of keeper. That's why sometimes even today people still joke about Billy Slater and speedboats and cars and all that keeper. Now, Brian Waldron, the CEO, plus Matt Hansen, Paul Gregory and Peter O'Sullivan, they were all at the head of this, but players were also involved in it, and I still believe to this day that Cameron Smith and Craig Bellamy were involved in it. It was described as the biggest salary cap scandal, or the biggest scandal in Australian sport history, and they had both their 2007 and 2009 premierships taken off them. The seasons were declared null and void. The minor premierships and everything else that they'd won had been taken away. And I was going back through the history of the salary cap and breaches, and it's interesting to note that Melbourne were also over the salary cap in 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004. But in those cases, they were only over by 100,000 or so they got a fine for that. Now, if we go back in time and we look at some of the other salary cap breaches in the history of the NRL, the first one, and I think this one's probably the closest to Melbourne, if Melbourne fans are gonna compare salary cap breach out there, this one, which was Canterbury. Now, in 2002. They were on a 17-game winning streak, and then it was found that they had breached the salary cap between 2001 and 2002. There was $750,000 over the cap in 2001. 2002, they were $920,000 over the cap. For 2002, they had all their points stripped off them. They were given the wooden spoon, and they also had to pay a couple of other fines as well. And then in 2006, New Zealand, the Warriors, they were $1.1 million over the cap between 2004 and 2005. They were fined 430,000 Australian dollars, and they started the year 2006 with -4 points. Now, if we go forward to 2016, now this is a salary cap scandal that Melbourne fans always go, well, what about Parramatta? They did exactly the same thing as us and they didn't get any punishment, or so they say. So Parramatta in 2016, they were found to be $500,000 over the salary cap, although the NRL had known that the club had problems with the salary cap since 2013. And in 2015, they were given a $525,000 fine, plus they were threatened with starting the 2016 season on -4 points. In 2016, they were sitting third in the competition. I think they were nearly halfway through the year. And then Todd Greenberg handed down the punishment, which was a 12-point deduction, which pretty much meant season over for us. We were stripped of the Auckland Nines title that they won before the season started. They were fined $1 million, and they were told that they were not allowed to accrue any points until they either shed players or got under the cap. And as a result, 2 or 3 of our best players had to leave: Junior Paulo, Nathan Peets, and then also, well, actually, if it wasn't for Anthony Watmore, we wouldn't have been back under the cap. The only reason why Parramatta got to play for points is because Anthony Watmore went into retirement, and then that money was eased off the cap. But for Melbourne fans to come out and see that Parramatta got off lightly and Parramatta did exactly the same thing as Melbourne, I think that's fucking stupid, because the difference between the two salary cap things I'm going to explain later. But I can certainly tell you one thing, that Parramatta didn't do the same thing that Melbourne did. Now we go forward to 2018. Manly Warringah were found to be $1.5 million over the salary cap in a 5-year period, I think from 2014 to 2018 or 2013 to 2018. They were given a $750,000 fine, and they were given no points. No points were taken off them, and they were allowed to play for points in 2018. Now we go forward to another one where Melbourne fans go, oh, well, what about Cronulla? They did exactly the same thing that we did, and they get no punishment whatsoever. There was someone on Facebook today that said Cronulla didn't even get a fine. They got off scot-free, basically, like. But I'll tell you, Cronulla, now, what happened is that the CEO, Barry Russell, he actually self-reported to the NRL a $50,000 discrepancy in the salary cap. The NRL did an investigation, a very thorough investigation. It was found that Cronulla were over the salary cap between 2013 and 2017, but they did a very thorough investigation. They found that 2016, there was no salary cap breaches that year. They got to keep their premiership. I'm sound with that. I got no bother with that. But Melbourne fans go, oh, well, Cronulla got off lightly. They didn't get any fines. Now what happened to them? Well, actually, they got a $750,000 fine. The head coach, Shane Flanagan, was deregistered, and James Seguiaro and a couple of other players had to be released. Now, Melbourne fans like to see, oh, you know, we're hard done by and we didn't deserve it, and some of them even deny that it ever happened. They kind of wear this whole salary cap as a badge of honour. They kind of go, we cheated and we got caught, but we've come back and we've won stuff, and you're all just New South Wales sad cases and storm heaters and all that, keep it. But the difference between all these other salary cap breaches and Melbourne's is Parramatta, Manly, Canterbury, New Zealand and Cronulla, they didn't operate 2 separate books. The players weren't in on it. The coach wasn't in on it. They didn't get the players to sign 2 separate contracts. If it wasn't for the anonymous whistleblower that come out and told the NRL what was going on in Melbourne, they never would have been caught. Because I remember David Gallup saying that Melbourne's salary cap breach is probably the most elaborate and probably deliberate way, and the way that they hid the cheating was probably, as he said, the most elaborate and deliberate form of cheating that he's ever seen in his life in terms of an organisation. And if it wasn't for that whistleblower, Melbourne would have got away with it. As opposed to, you could see Parramatta, where the NRL knew that the club was over. The thing with Parramatta, it wasn't two illegal books, it wasn't hiding payments and all that, keeping like two separate contracts and all that. It was third party payments. The players, the coach, they had no idea. It all come from what the media called the Gang of Five, which was 5 senior officials at the Parramatta club. They're the ones that did the illegal third party payments. It had nothing to do with the players, and that's what makes it different than the Melbourne one. The only, you could see, salary cap, as I said earlier, which you could probably compare to the Melbourne one, and it's funny because Melbourne fans never mention it, is the Canterbury one. Because the Canterbury one was very similar to the Melbourne one, except that there wasn't 2 separate contracts, there wasn't illegal bookkeeping and all that keeper. But it was an elaborate setup that they did, and they almost got away with it, Canterbury, but they were caught in 2002 and they got that massive fine. And that pretty much, you'd think at the time that would have stopped people from maybe trying to breach the salary cap, but Melbourne, they did it in the most elaborate way possible. And that's my video tonight. I just want to make a video to say that whenever a Melbourne fan out there says we didn't do anything wrong, or other clubs have done exactly the same as us and they've got no punishment, you can tell them the facts. You can tell them what I've said tonight, that they're wrong, that cheating is a bad thing. It's not something that you should wear as a badge of honour. None of the other clubs that have been found guilty of the salary cap, none of the fans of those clubs go out there and wear the cheating as a badge of honour. And especially with Canterbury and Parramatta and these other clubs, they don't go around still declaring that some of the stuff that they've won is still theirs and is rightfully theirs, and display it in the HQ and in the club headquarters. So anyway, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something new about the salary caps and how they work and some things that have happened in the past. Anyways, if you haven't yet subscribed, as I said earlier, make sure that you do so by clicking that subscribe button so you get an email or you get a notification of when I do a new video. I'll be doing another new video very, very soon. And if you haven't yet done so, go out and check me Rugby League History pages on Facebook and Instagram. I post content there daily, and you should go check it out. Anyways, everyone, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll catch you all later in the next video. Alright, ta-ra.